What we have so far, we were working on a screen that allowed us to manipulate the various users. Perhaps this is a screen that a system administrator would use so that they could list all the users in the system. They could maybe create new users, maybe they can search for existing users, maybe they can remove users, perhaps edit users, and then modify some of the features, and then choose OK to make those changes permanent. Let's see. So this page is dynamically rendered. It's not static. We can look at we can inspect the HTML. We can inspect the network, see how this page is built. If we refresh, it looks like the browser is fetching this initial document here, and there it is. That's the first document that comes down. We could preview the actual HTML that comes from the server. Once the document downloads, we'll notice that one of the first things that it does is that it asks for various other things, right? The document asks for the style sheet out of Bootstrap. There it is. That's the query that went out. Then it asks for font awesome, right? And there it is. It went out. The request went out, and so on and so forth, right? Then jQuery. There's jQuery. It looked for this other JavaScript. There it is. It went out. So these are all the requests that went out from the HTML that was initially downloaded. One of the last things that it does is that after the JavaScript gets downloaded, we can actually see it, what JavaScript downloads. There's the JavaScript that downloads, that kicks off the dynamic portion of this. Is this one that we wrote last time we met, right? That kicks off this main function and presumably goes out to a server fetching for all this list of users from the server, and then passes all of those users to a render function that iterates over the users and then generates this dynamic table here. We can see that this query out here, we can put a breakpoint and refresh, and then we can step through into the find all. We can step through. There it is. This is implemented in user service client, and does a fetch. Uses the fetch to go fetch the users from some server running in our local machine, listening at port 8080, and to a URL pattern that ends with /users. Presumably the response comes back. We can keep going. The response comes back with some body, some headers, an OK status of 200, meaning everything went fine. If we go back to whoever made this call, the response is presumably going to be sent over to the render users function way down here. So if we put a breakpoint here, we can say continue, and indeed comes here with the array of users that comes from the server. We actually see that query that went out to the server. Where is it? Right here. See that? This is the query that went out to the server, localhost 8080 users. If we click it, we see that the request was a GET request to the /users, and that the response that came back from the server, we can look at a preview and format it so that we can read it. Was an array that is coming back from the server with a couple of users: Alice, we have Bob, Charlie, and then in the source, right, we can see that as it steps through each one of the users, we clone a template row, which we then populate the username. We would populate the first name, the last name, the password, the role, and whatnot. And I'll leave that up to you for the upcoming assignment. And then it appends these rows to the table body that we had grabbed earlier from the DOM. If we continue, move all these breakpoints, indeed it renders and it generates these dynamic rows for us. Okay. On the server side, these queries are going out to the server side. So let's hop over to the server side. Right, on the server side, we have a controller implemented here that is listening to that incoming /users. Right, we have created a Java class that is made available on the network through this annotation REST controller, and then we can expose a function so that it can be executed over HTTP by annotating it with this @get mapping. and then mapping it to the URL that kicks off this function. So from the client's point of view, this query /users /localhost 8080/users kicks off this function, and this function, what it does is just returns this static array list of users and returns it as a list of users, which gets converted into JSON as an array of JSON objects. So a list of Java instances of users gets converted into a JSON representation of an array. These users were created as just plain old Java objects, POJOs, that contain all these fields, right? ID, username, first name. Obviously, this is missing quite a few other fields that I leave to you to complete for the assignment. And indeed, that's what's coming back from the server: first name, IDs, and usernames, right? Which is exactly what is listed here. And as it as the controller, right, as it executes this find users, it returns this static array of users, right, that we have created in this static block. We have instantiated the users and then statically filled up the array of users with these dummy users, right? Alice, Bob, Charlie, Dan, with these IDs and these first names. That's exactly what we're rendering on the client: Alice, Bob, Charlie, and Dan. So what remains to do here is to complete several of the other CRUD operations: the create, the read, the update, the delete, all the different CRUD operations. We only have the first one of these CRUD operations, the read, the R in CRUD. That it's allowing us to read the content. We need to be able to create new content. We need to be able to update content. We need to be able to remove content. So let's work on that next.